2020 has thrown us all for a loop, but Colorado's culture remains steady, strong, and is something worth celebrating. Whether it's playing with baby goats at a family-owned dairy, celebrating our robust craft beer scene, or even climbing the tallest sand dune in North America, we at Denver 7 want to shine a light on everything that makes Coloradans fall in love with our state time and time again.
If somebody wants to experience Colorado, this is the way to do it.
In this Denver 7 special presentation, we are showcasing some of our favorite spots we explored in 2020. This is Discover Colorado. Hello, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Katie LaSalle. We begin in the Colorado foothills with what started as a father-daughter love of the trails. Decades later, that love is as strong as ever, and you can get a taste of it at A&A Historic Trails.
I don't have any idea the first time I rode a horse, but I was riding at 5 by myself for sure. It takes a certain type of person to do this job. You work 7 days a week and it's morning and night, and no matter what the weather, you're still coming up and feeding. You don't get a sick day. You have to love it to do it. And I do have a lot of friends that don't love their job and don't love getting up and going to it. So I'm very blessed that I get to do this business. I have a special connection to the horses, every one of them, especially the ones I've had since they were babies. They're my life. The horses are my life. My name is Ginger D. Ray. I run A&A Historical Trail Stable. It's a trail riding stables. We ride up through the scenic area and the old gold mines above Central City. I was raised in this business. My father did this. When I was young, he had 450 head of horses in Aurora and ran camps and stables all over Colorado. He spent 33 years building this business from nothing, from scratch. 36 years ago, I started Historical Trails with my father, and then when he died 4 years later, I just carried on. And 36 years later, I'm still here riding horses through the woods. You never get bored here. Every day is different. There's no regular day, and that is part of the fun of it. Different people coming from all different countries, different ages. It feels good to be able to bring people up to these mines and through these mountains because they're changing. Every year they change and trails are getting lost and stables are closing down. So it's good to still be able to bring people up here and show them how all of this country got founded, which was on horseback. If somebody wants to experience Colorado, this is the way to do it. It's an hour west of Denver, pretty easy to get here. Aspen, pine, beautiful vistas, and all of this mining and all the history. I'm very proud that I made this business what it is and that I've shared the trails with so many people, and I have generations of people that come back and ride. My kids ask me every year how long I'm going to do this, and I'm not really sure. I'm 65 and I'm just going to keep going till I can't go because I just love what I do, and I think it's a great thing to show people.
A&A Trails tells us they had a successful summer as tourists flocked to socially distanced outdoor activities. The trails are closed for the season, but plan to open back up in May, weather permitting. We turn now to Boulder, where a popular pumpkin patch doesn't simply offer a family-friendly affair. It captures a slice of old Colorado with a day on the farm.
When I was a kid, everybody had some connection to the farm. Now, very few people have a real farm connection. Our family history in Boulder County dates back to sometime in the 1850s. My grandfather did threshing in the area around 75th and Arapahoe. I first came to the farm with my mother in 1951 in the winter, or 52, I don't remember. We milked cows, had about 150 acres there. As soon as you could try to lift a hay bale, you're trying to lift one. I'm Bob Condon. My wife and I started this Cottonwood Farm. We have a fall pumpkin patch. We started this 25 years ago. We were doing some farming, and a friend who was very interested in the pumpkins said, well, you should start a pumpkin patch. And so we thought, well, that's kind of cool. We'll do that. And we were thinking just weekends, but very quickly it became all week. The next year, it was successful enough we decided we'd try it again. Every pumpkin patch is a little bit different. Each one has a little different personality. We try to be pretty calm, laid back, deal mostly with the younger children. We don't have all the carnival-like things. I get calls, well, do you have face painting? Do you have a bounce house? I'm like, man, I've been 70-some years on a farm and I never saw either of those. The corn maze is a couple acres. It's not real big, but most of our group is younger families. We think it's nice for people to get a taste of a corn maze before you go to a 25-acre one. We've been in this long enough that we've known families where we saw the young kids, and then eventually they become teenagers and we're way too lame. So they go to some of the bigger ones, but then eventually they come back with their kids. And I get emails and messages from people on our How Tall sign saying we've had pictures of the kids all the way through growing up in front of that sign. Don't ever get rid of that. We have this very busy time and then it's calm again. I'm still pretty tied to the land. I enjoy my time out here just checking on things, watching things grow. I see myself working as long as I can. I always said, why would you want to be a farmer if you don't get to drive the tractor?
We'll stay on the farm for our next story as we head to Buena Vista, where you can stop in for some craft cheese and make a few animal friends at the same time.
Just past mile marker 207 along Highway 24 on the outskirts of Buena Vista, smack dab in central Colorado, is an inviting scene.
It's 42 acres, and part of it's on highway frontage, and behind me is on the Collegiate Peak Mountain Range. So in that whole setting is the dairy in the country, the creamery and the country store.
It's the Jumpin' Good Goat Dairy, a small town haven for craft cheese lovers. Now, before you start imagining a building just chock full of traditional goat cheese, let's clear something up.
You can make any kind of cheese out of goat's milk just like you can cow's milk.
So you can do the cheddars, the bries, the blues, the cream cheese, the yogurt, the ice cream, all of the same stuff you can with cow's milk.
And trust me when I say these folks take flavoring to the next level.
Last year we have our normal cheese is lemon dill, and then we did a 4th of July strawberry. So we did strawberry lemonade, and we just threw those two flavors together and turned out really good.
On our visit, they brought out the big guns.
Yeah, so we have two different cheeses for you to try today. We have one of those spreadable cheeses, so it's a habanero gold, so it's got habanero gold jelly in it, and it's got the sweet cheese. And then we have a First Snow, which is a brie.
That habanero gold is life-giving. On your visit to Jumpin' Good Goat, you'll get to sample some of their many glorious cheese creations, and the country store is stocked with seemingly endless goat milk goodness. Their educational farm tours also take you through the creamery to see firsthand how the cheese is made.
And then the tanks that you see here, those are the pasteurizers that we have to pasteurize the milk with.
I got a joke for the camera that's never been more topical. Where's milk pasteurized? Right here. Pasteurized.
Ooh, that is good.
Crushed it.
I'll show myself out, but not before the main attraction. Playing with baby goats.
I think you should catch one. I want to watch you catch one.
How do I catch it?
It's an experience fit for the established goat enthusiast.
We got 6 different breeds of dairy goats out here. We got Nubian, Saanen, La Mancha, Toggenburg, Oberhashi. What is the 6th one? What am I missing? Oh, an Alpine.
Can you spell any of those names?
Alpine.
A-L-P-I-N-E.
There we go. We got Alpine. Maybe Nubian, that one could be easy too.
And it's a joy for the rookie goat holder like myself. Either way, it's hard not to smile when you're holding one of these little fellas.
Man, his belly is squishy.
First and foremost, it's mostly all joy, like Grandpa, who's trying to be stoic and, maintain his composure, and you put a baby goat in his hands, it's all over. He's kind of just melts.
Now, I'll be the first to say, I 10 out of 10 would recommend some goats in your life to lift your spirits. But stepping out back to the goat pen at Jumpin' Good isn't just about cuddling the furry little friends. It's an immersion into the metaphysics of the food chain.
I'm very passionate about sharing not just that process of cheese making, but the whole connection of the earth the animals to people. How that becomes food to us and what that means to us can become a piece and a part of that when they visit Jumping Good Goat Dairy.
Whoa, play with a baby goat and get your mind blown? That's a one-of-a-kind experience if I've ever seen one. So if you're headed toward Buena Vista, it's well worth the stop.
Don tells us the dairy's wholesale business took a hit due to the pandemic because of how much cheese they sell to ski resorts and restaurants. But the good news, business was up at the dairy this summer. Jumping Good is still open right now and also ships year-round to the continental U.S. Still ahead, there's plenty to discover in the Colorado craft beer scene, and we did just that this year. I know it's a tough job, but someone's got to do it, right? After the break, a pair of beer pioneers right here in Colorado. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this Denver 7 special presentation of Discover Colorado. I'm Katie LaSalle. Well, more than 400 craft breweries operate in Colorado, according to the Brewers Association, and that is a lot of craft brew to compete with. But we found a brew pub tucked away in a Colorado ski town that is truly one of a kind. Landon Hoff takes us to Riff Raff Brewing Company in Pagosa Springs.
In a delightfully crowded Colorado craft beer scene,
Hobgoblin IPA, Heath Toffee Bar type porter,
it's easy to get buried in the list of ales, lagers, and stouts.
Russian Imperial Stout, and an American Imperial Stout.
So how does a brewery stand out? Well, try this one on for size. Earth-powered beer.
So the idea of earth-powered beer was to take energy from the earth and use it to brew beer.
That's right, earth-powered beer. Nestled along the main drag in Pagosa Springs, a popular ski and soak destination in southwest Colorado, is Riff Raff Brewing.
It's the first direct-use geothermal brewery in the state of Colorado.
The entire brewery gets its energy from the hot water provided by the Great Spring in the heart of town, which just so happens to be the world's deepest geothermal hot spring.
You can really heat the heck out of it. Oh, wow!
And no, you aren't drinking the hot spring water. Riff Raff's beer is brewed with fresh water that's heated by the 141-degree waters flowing from across the river.
Pagosa's other healing waters.
So whether you're a science junkie,
hot water is a really good medium for heat exchange. It's 4 times the capacity of air.
a beer geek,
Just doing some sensory analysis.
or just a fan of a little love for the environment,
The carbon footprint is virtually zero.
there's a reason to come check out Riff Raff. But there's just something special about this place that keeps locals and tourists coming back.
Our goal is to create a guest experience that makes it feel like this is your cheer.
Afternoon, everybody.
At Riff Raff, everyone is welcome to come raise a pint or two.
Whether it's your first time or your 100th time, when you come in, we want to know your name.
Or nibble on a sneaky good burger.
Exotic bar food, eclectic bar food, I would call it.
And most of all, capture the spirit of Pagosa Springs inside the quaint Victorian home at 247 Pagosa Street.
When we decided to start a brewery in Pagosa Springs, part of what we did was look at the environment, look at the culture, look at the people, look at the visitors. And we decided that geothermal really was a core part of the identity for Pagosa Springs. And we wanted to embrace that and be an ambassador for it. And we thought, what better way than melding craft beer and hot water from the earth. The earth-powered beer originated from that, and we're really proud to have a system that uses it to its fullest capacity.
So whether you're fresh off the slopes or cooling down after a soak, come on in.
Jason tells us Riff Raff has rebounded after a rough spring. They had a record summer, thanks in a large part to Pagosa Springs being a popular road trip destination. And more earth-powered beer is on the way. Riff Raff is working with a team from CSU to use solar energy to brew beer at its second location. More good news for the brewery. It launched a can program back in February, right before COVID hit. And Jason says the cans have flown off the shelves with more people drinking at home. Those cans, though, likely wouldn't be if it weren't for the next brewery on our list. You may not know the birthplace of craft beer in a can is right here in Colorado.
If you're looking for a quintessential Colorado experience, try this one on for size. Take the popular drive up US 36 to Rocky Mountain National Park and score a good old-fashioned Colorado craft beer on the way. Tucked away in Lyons, in the shadow of the foothills,
This is where it all started in 1997.
is the original Oscar Blues Brewery.
Being just down the road in Longmont, I think what this offers is Rocky Mountain National Park. So if you're coming from anywhere in the country and and you want a Colorado experience, this could be a part of that tour.
The OG Oscar Blues is an eclectic spot
It just had a different funk to it.
where you can try out the latest and greatest beer offerings.
Slinging a lot of beer.
Oscar Blues Grill and Brew doesn't mail it in on the grill part either.
Food is great. We do a little bit of everything.
Because owner Dale Katechis, yeah, that Dale, didn't originally have global craft beer powerhouse on his mind. He started Oscar Blues as a restaurant.
He'd worked in the restaurant business for a majority of his life. There is a story about him in old Chicago's and kind of just deciding to go off and do his own thing, and this is where he came.
And 23 years in, this place still keeps its original charm, thanks in large part to some motherly love.
Dale's mom, Yaya,
Her soul is
here.
Yeah, she allowed Dale to kind of focus really on the beer.
Oh, but he didn't just focus on the beer. Right here in Lyons, Oscar Blues launched a movement that changed the craft beer industry.
We built an empire.
The craft beer in a can.
It was called a two-head filler. So you have two cans in your hands. You have a station where it purges the oxygen out of those two cans with CO2. And then you slide them over and press a button, and it fills those two cans.
Needless to say, the process has gotten much more efficient.
Still holding its true form these days.
It's Juice's job to focus on the beer, and back here behind the restaurant is his laboratory.
3-vessel brew system. This is the mash tun. This starts the beer creation process where you combine milled grain in hot water.
Where he's not satisfied simply with the craft in a can legacy.
Imagine pioneering, an IPA in a can.
Or with Oscar Blues flagship beers being sold in all 50 states and internationally.
A very competitive person.
And where the next Oscar Blues concoction is brewing as you watch this.
So right now, currently in the Lyons location, we're doing the R&D. We're always looking for what's the next coolest hop, what's the next trend, right?
And trust me when I say, big things are on the way.
Please do not video over on this side because we have a top secret project that is underway.
For Denver 7 in Discover, Colorado, I'm Landon Hoff.
Oscar Blues used the pandemic as an opportunity to renovate its Longmont location. And that top secret project, well, we know it is Oscar Blues' first ever large batch sour called Guava Rodeo, which will hit shelves nationwide in the spring. Still ahead, a one-of-a-kind collection of natural beauty enjoyed by stargazers and dune surfers alike. We'll be right back. Colorado is an outdoorsman's paradise thanks to its vast array of natural beauty. And the Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve in southern Colorado really has it all. From frozen tundra to wetlands to 30 square miles of desert, the park is truly a one-of-a-kind destination.
I've always really appreciated nature. Growing up in Alamosa, we'd always come here camping, and we went to a lot of different national park areas, and I really liked the philosophy of protecting these key places. Hello, my name is Fred Bunch. I'm the Chief of Resources Management here at Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve. The Great Sand Dunes contains world-class resources. These are the tallest dunes in North America. There's some endemic insects. That means they're only found here, no other place on Earth. International Dark Night Sky Association designated Great Sand Dunes as an International Dark Night Sky Park. That is also considered a resource, is that darkness. One of the great visitor experiences is to come to the dunes and go out in the night sky and see the millions of grains of sand blend into the millions of stars in the heavens. The other thing that makes this really special is when the creek flows in the spring, it flows in a pattern where there's a wave action going on in the creek bed. And that is the best example of that phenomenon in the world. There's a lot of fun things to do here at the Great Sand Dunes, and that's one of the things that I appreciate about working at this resource, is the resource is resilient. It's a wilderness, so there's not motorized vehicles or dune buggies or any of that stuff. So you hike out there, you take a horse. There's sandboarding is fun, sand skiing is great, sliding down on a saucer is a blast, listening to the natural quiet, observing the night sky, playing on the sand. During the summer, when the creek's flowing, there are hundreds of 8-year-old civil engineers. Every kid wants to dam this creek, and so they build dams and they build sand castles and numerous things. So it's a really fun, resilient resource. I like to think a litmus test of how effective the Park Service function is if you look across the landscape and you can't tell what year it is. then that's what we're trying to do. And also having an experience like if you can come here as a 7-year-old and come back later and still that experience is available for you. That's a secure thing in an ever-changing world. As Roosevelt said about the Grand Canyon, we can't improve on this, we can just keep it like it is.
After the break, get into the holiday spirit with a Colorado Christmas experience just outside of Denver. Welcome back to this Denver 7 special presentation of Discover Colorado. I'm Katie LaSalle. Well, Tamari's calls itself a little coffee shop with a big heart. And when you meet the husband-wife team who own it, you'll understand why. Come with us to Morrison's quaint public house and Christmas tree farm.
My name is Tom. I'm co-owner with my wife, Mari.
And I'm Mari, hence the name Tamari's. Tom and I are partners and married. We put this place together about 4 years ago. One of the things that makes us a little bit different than the tree lots in town is that you can come into the shop prior to walking the lot, get something hot to warm your hands as you're walking through the lot looking at the trees, whether that's a hot cocoa or a specialty coffee drink or a spiked coffee drink for that matter, or a cocktail.
This used to be called the Little Log Store. It was a gas station convenience store that went belly up. So it sat vacant for 6 or 7 years. And every day we drive by and say, we ought to buy that and make it into a coffee shop. And somehow opportunity arose, made an offer, bought it, turned into the money pit just like the movie. The day we closed, we came down to have a celebratory cocktail, and we went in to the counter. I put down the drinks. As I set them down, the floor gave way, and I ended up down in the crawl space. It took us about a year to renovate.
We started Tamari's primarily because we wanted a community meeting place. We call ourselves a public house. In the old days, they used to open a house to the public, a house in the neighborhood to the public, and we want to be that open house in the neighborhood. Our center post is our coffee, which we buy from Mad Loon, who roasts right here in the building. Everything that we serve is made by locals here on the mountain and in Colorado. I have never met a man who loves Christmas more than this man. He goes all out for Christmas with lights and decorations, and the Christmas trees are just an extension of who he truly is.
I just enjoy the holiday, what it brings, the family, the feeling, and that's what this does. I just love it up here in the mountains, and it makes it that much better. Well, it was our second year in, and I just noticed cars coming down with trees on the top, and it occurred to me we just have a perfect location for it. So I tried it the first year, and it was a huge success. We have a lot of land up 4 miles from here, and so do our neighbors, and there's some open space, and we have to do fire mitigation anyway. So I go through and I find some open pastures, and we cut local trees. They're nice and full, and that also helps the community because the fire mitigation.
We have our elves over here who help you pick out just the right tree, and then they'll put it on top of your car for you.
We are 15 minutes from town, so people can get the atmosphere, the getaway, come up to the mountains without having to drive 3 hours and go cut it down themselves.
The most meaningful thing to me is when a family says, we're going to make this our family tradition. It's just so impactful to be a part of making somebody's Christmas special for them.
And a big thanks to Tom and Mari for sharing their story with us and for putting us all in the holiday spirit. Well, that does it for this Denver 7 special presentation. You can find more Discover Colorado stories on your favorite streaming device. Just search Denver 7 on your Roku, Amazon Fire TV, or Apple TV, and look for the Discover Colorado section. I'm Katie LaSalle for Denver 7. Have a great day.